Film Review.
There's something about German, why I made the curator's deck of the Hollywood French.
Brought to you by the host, Tracey and Tracey. All music creators of the Film Review, iTunes, live stream recording, audio, research on topics. Tracey Dion.
What's going on, people? This is the Film Review. We are the husband and wife team that review movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And welcome to the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society film magazine. Welcome to the Film Review, movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. Each week, the husband and wife team take you on a discussion on culture in movies, music, politics, and society. Brought to you by LordlandFilms.com. So get ready for this week's The Film Review.
What's going on, people?
Hello.
This is the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture and movies, music, politics, and society. And do we have a great show for you on this? What is this? This is the 6th day of Black History Month. And we've been making history because now we're on the 46th episode of the Film Review. And do we have a great show for you today? We're going to be talking about American Soul on BET, which is the true story of Don Cornelius and the creation of Soul Train, moving from Chicago to LA. We're also going to be talking about the Liam Neeson situation. We're also going to be talking about Terry Crews. He struck again. And then we're going to be speaking on Trump's State of the Union. Did you see this, people? And Stacey Abrams' response. And then we're going to touch a little bit on the Super Bowl. But how are you enjoying the 6th day of Black History Month? What have you been doing? Chime in underneath and we'll chime in with you. And we'll be having a great discussion with you today. But I'm going to turn it over to my wife for a minute while I populate this.
Did you know, for Black History Month, let's talk about the creator, Carter G. Woodson. Negro History Week. Now, it started off as a week. We now have a month. Negro History Week in 1926 was the precursor to Black History Month. It was created by, again, like I said, historian Carter G. Woodson, and the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History announced the second week of February to be Negro History Month. So, growing up in school, I don't know, they seem to like focus on like the same
Martin Luther King.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine, but there are so many other founders who contributed to our history. And for some reason, I don't know. In school, did they talk to you about Carter G. Woodson?
No, they didn't talk to us. But luckily, in my school, we talked about Benjamin Banneker.
Oh, yeah.
He was the first one. Not only did he design the layout of Washington, D.C., but he also was the first one to create the Farmer's Almanac.
Right. Yep.
Because for those who don't know, the people who they brought here were skilled artisan, laborers, scientific thinkers from Africa. Those are some of the ones that they brought over here into slavery to be able to plant, who knew agriculture, who knew layouts of not only architecture.
Hey, Roland.
Hey, what's going on, Roland? But how to builders. So they were, we were skilled people who came here, right?
They talked to us about Gary Morgan also, right?
Yeah,
well,
Gary
because
Morgan.
he was from Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. He made the first stoplight.
Right.
It was right down there on Euclid, Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
As well as with the face, the gas mask.
The gas mask and the first open heart surgery.
Oh, okay.
That's right. But did you know that the stoplight, when you look at the stoplight, you see that it was encased in black, and it was red, green, and yellow, right? So when you look at, so they've changed the outside casing, but actually he was representing red, black, and green. And for a while there, whenever you like the ironing board apparatus, you knew that it was made by black people because it came in the colors of red, black, and green. That was the signifying to let you know what it meant. So whenever you look at a stoplight and you see red, yellow, and green, remember that it was encased in black. So it was red, black, and green, and yellow. You know, red is for the blood, black is for the rich skin, yellow is for the sun, and green is for the land, right? So, you know, just quick, brief information for those who didn't know that. So every time you see a stoplight and you see it and you know it was created by Garrett Morgan in Cleveland, Ohio, first one on Euclid Avenue, Millionaires Row, right downtown Cleveland, Ohio, you know that he was representing who he was as a black person and that this was created by a black person. Again, the gas mask and the first open heart surgery. So those are a couple of quick black history facts for you. Facts, not fiction, as we give it to you, right? So, you know, for those who didn't know that, now you know, and you become even more advanced in knowing some things. You know, we're very proud of Cleveland, Ohio, because there's some other things that happen there, but we're not talking about that today.
Are you still popular?
I am still popular.
Okay, so while you're doing that, it was interesting to learn. My grandmother had the surgery a few years ago. She had cataract surgery, and it was nice to know that in 1986, Patricia Babb, a black woman, created the laser surgical device. She revolutionized the treatment of cataracts, and that was in 1986. And what was also nice to learn was Thomas Elkins. See, these people, they didn't talk to us. They didn't tell us about these people in school. Thomas Elkins created the modern toilet. He created the chamber commode in 1872. It included a mirror, washstand, and more. That was interesting. I had heard about this before. The refrigerator was created by Frederick Jones. I couldn't remember his name. I'm going to have to start memorizing names. But he created the first refrigerator. He was a self-taught engineer with a number of important inventions. His most notable invention was a refrigerator used to transport blood, food, and medicine during World War II.
There you go.
They don't talk about it.
So they don't talk about that. They don't even talk about how the first people who entered into the concentration camps and the death camps for the Jewish people were black soldiers. They don't tell you that. Like if you watched, just a side note before we get on to Trump, but when they said that there were the Americans, there's a story that's told about a Holocaust survivor, and when they said these are the Americans, they say Americans, but they leave out that the first people they always sent in were black soldiers. But then when the cameras came in, they replaced the black soldiers that actually did the liberation with European American soldiers. Just a little, that's a little history fact there to correct history. You know what I mean?
Daniel Hale Williams was the pioneer of open heart surgery. He was born in Pennsylvania, 1856. He would go on to become a physician and surgeon. In 1981, he founded the first integrated hospital, and just 2 years later, he became the first person to successfully complete an open heart surgery. So, just a few Black history facts. Alexander Miles, he improved the elevator. He was known as the wealthiest colored man in the Northwest. He created an automatic device to open and close elevator doors.
Whereas before, they had the person that would open the doors, and
Right.
he was the elevator man.
Man, right.
He automated the system.
in which what we have today, you know, we push that button and the doors open.
And it
That was
goes
him.
and take us what floor we want to go. That was him. What else?
The
Give me
light
some-
bulb was created by Lewis Latimer.
That's right. The filament on inside. Let's see. If you ever watch the old Spencer Tracey movie, and they show a black kid standing by his side, they always call black men boys, and then once you get old, then they would call you uncle. Well, Lewis Latimer was neither an uncle nor was he a boy, but he was a full-grown man who was a scientist who created the filament that allowed the light bulb to remain on without blowing out. It extended the life of the light bulb so that it wouldn't just turn on and just blow out just like that. So that's who he is. So when if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have light today like we have light right now. We wouldn't have light today as we know it. But they leave these people out of history. But that's why there's Black History Month, to let you know about these people. And if you are now, back in the day, we had to go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System, use the microfiche, find magazines and all that to find all this information in the library. And the library is still a great tool, but in case you don't want to go to the library, you have a mini computer in your hand, and you can just, when you know of these things, you can just go in and type in, and it will come up on Google. That's right, so that you know, so that you can go and find out, and you can amaze your friends with the knowledge that you have on us. That's right. So what we're going to be talking about there, because I'm still populating, but we got to get into it now. Did you hear about, let's kick off with something a little bit easy to decipher. Did you hear about what Liam Neeson said about wanting to go out and just find a random black person to beat up because I guess it was his significant other?
Yeah, and this was years ago.
But still no excuse.
I mean, no excuse, but I, just want to make it clear that this wasn't last week.
Right, it wasn't last week, but he talked about it last week, right? So let's set this up. So what happens is, his significant other tells him that she was raped. So instead of him saying, "Are you okay?" or "You," or that, the first thing he wanted to know was, what color was the person that raped you? That was the first thing that came. Now this is what he says in the interview. And you can hear it over the internet, so there's no mistaking this. The first thing that he asks her is, what color was he, or was the person? And she said it was a black person. Now let's pump the brakes for a minute, because the curse of the European woman may have struck again, even to the point of while he's retelling this story and remembering this story and being so forthcoming.
Right.
What's going on,
Amen.
Manny Watts? Thanks for checking in and watching. I mean, he's being so forthcoming and remembering this story to tell this reporter. The curse of the European woman may be striking again, because many times black men have been lied upon to cover up affairs, to cover up other persons that may have done something to people, or just plain old nothing really happened, but they just blamed it for attention. Just ask Emmett Till's mom after she got Emmett Till back from down south, or ask the woman, she's still alive, but she admitted that she lied because she wanted, her pale face wanted to be a model and didn't want to be stuck up in the store, so she thought if she told that that her husband would then say, well, I don't want you working in the store around there. But instead, they went out, dragged him out his people's house, took him down to the Mississippi River, tied him, Bob wired him up against a fan wheel after beating him up and shooting him in his head, and let him float, thinking that he was going to sink in the Mississippi River, because many bodies have been sunk in the Mississippi River. That's what Old Man River was about when Roberson would sing it, right? That's what that was about, Old Man River. That Old Man River, right? It just keeps on chugging along, even though it's a lot of bodies under there, right? But this body surfaced, and it was the initiating event that really kicked off to show the cruelty of what was happening during the Jim Crow era, and while civil rights was very important. So, putting that out there to let you know that many times the European woman will lie, right? And thus and so, there's been many a lynching of black men, many of a burning at the stake, many of a castration. And this curse may have come back and maybe at this point be costing Liam Neeson his career, because maybe the woman wasn't telling the truth about who did it. Because if he was in Ireland, right, and he took whatever he took, I guess whatever he was saying, whatever it was, is one of those sticks that are kind of like a bat.
And he would walk the street,
and he walked the street looking for any black person. But if you're in Ireland, there are very few, so you would know where the black neighborhood was. I mean, it would just appear to me,
unless maybe it was when he moved on from Ireland and during his acting years, maybe.
But he's just openly walking down the street with a weapon in the United States or in England or wherever he was, looking for a black beep. They bleeped it, beep. He was looking for a black beep, and they just bleeped it. You can hear this on it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why would the first thing that you would think of was to go out and just try to kill? Because he said that he wanted one to just try him in the bars. He wanted to just start something so one would try him in the bars so he could just kill him, because he knows that we're in the system of white supremacy wherever he was, and that he would get off. It would be self-defense.
And like learning. Now this is during his press tour for his new film.
That's right, his new film. He said he caught the energy for the new film that's coming out, where he's in his films he never kills anything but Europeans, right? Except for the one where he was over in France, and I think he got to one black dude in the whole film. But this whole energy that he says that he had, he felt the energy coming from what he thought of, and he said that he had to say, wait a minute, and hold up and say that he got it. So that's why he feels that he's not racist. But if you automatically think that you are able to go out and do something to a group of people, he wasn't saying I'm gonna go find that particular rapist. He said any nondescript, any black person that he would come across, that he could get into something with, his aim was to end their being.
And you can hear this online.
That's right. You just go in, Google it, say Liam Neeson interview, and it comes up on ES, I believe, and you're able to push it, and you're able to, press the play, and you're able to hear him talk about this. So this is...
we review films, but won't be reviewing his.
Well, we won't be going to see that one.
He won't be seeing our money.
So people are often shocked. Listen, this is the reality of where we live in. And we're going to say this one more time so people understand what we're actually saying when we say white supremacy and racism. White supremacy has to do with the fact that genetically, this is science, there is dominant and then there are recessive gene pools, right? So dominant, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin. Recessive, light eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, light skin, blonde hair, those are recessive genes. So just science, when a dominant gene mixes with a recessive gene, the dominant gene, though it may be mixed a little, will still be the dominant feature that comes out on anything. Right? The dominant gene, the dark melanin, is what will manifest in that person that is considered a mixed person, so thus they're considered black in this society. There's only one race, but being that they were simple and they broke it up into 5 different categories of race instead of the human race, because there's only one human race. So anyway, so this is what this is about. So when people talk and they say, well, I'm not racist, but your main thought was to go out and try to maim or kill someone that is black. Right. It is because of the fact that subconsciously, and what has been ingrained with you within the systematic indoctrination of white supremacy, racism, that is what's been put into your head. You automatically look at a black person as a threat, black males in particular, because that would be the last thing that I would think about. I would be thinking about caring for the person, because he said that the person said they took care of it in a unique way, which he didn't want to get into, right? But he said that they took care of it in a unique way. Now I don't know what kind of unique way they would have took care of it.
Whether, I don't know if she went to the law or whoever, or they found the person, or my thing is, if she took care of the person who raped her, why are you still going out looking to hurt black men?
Non-discriminate black men. Men that had nothing to do with what happened with your particular woman, right? Because that is the sick mentality of white supremacy.
But my thing is, okay, so why are you telling us this? This isn't going to make us, as a people, go support your films.
That's right.
So it's just like, you could have kept it to yourself. So how about what's going on today? Let's not even talk about the raping of black men and women years ago during slavery.
That's right.
Not just women, but black males as well. Like, the heinous crime,
which they call buck. They call that buck buster.
But my thing is, is that supposed to be an excuse? What did he say? He said, "Oh, I'm not a racist," but
because he thought better of it.
Okay, so afterwards, he said he did it for about a week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So black people, and not just black people, other groups, who were abused by white people all over the world,
or who was just abused last week,
or just
if their family member said,
revenge,
I'm just gonna go out non-discriminate.
If everyone else has the same mind state as him, then they would be in trouble. So I mean,
there will be mass murdering in the streets,
like,
right?
It's just like he could have
let me rearrange. It would be mass killings in the street. You have to prove murder in the court of law, but it would be mass killings in the street, because people will be looking and saying, "Hey, look, this is what you've done to us," and what's going on? So
it's just crazy.
It's just crazy. So that is why a group of people who have been here since 1619, some that were here before, and who, once the Europeans came over, they brought just themselves, bringing diseases, wiped a lot of the population out, and not to mention that the Asians came across the Bering Strait, who then took over. So we've seen the invasion of the black body snatchers before. Invasion of the body snatchers before, people coming from different places to take the identity of people in different places, like they were trying to do in Haiti. They were trying to wipe out the Haitian population by killing them, and then bringing in African population to replace the Haitian population. And that's why the Haitian Revolution took place. Shit, we're not quite having that. And though they have them artificially in poverty, they walk around still with smiles on their faces, and people can't understand it because we whipped you, and this is just something that our leaders did to appease so that we wouldn't be in a constant 100 years war. It was a compromise that was made, and thus now they abuse it and take all of the mineral rights, all of the oil rights, all of that. They take that away. So that's why they are in perpetual poverty. But in actuality, they would be one of the richest countries on the planet Earth if they had control of their natural resources that are there in abundance. So what you find is the reason why they don't want black people who were here since 1619 and the people who were original black natives of this land to take over is because they are in fear that what they did to us, we will do to them.
So wait a minute, are you saying that not all black people came over on the slave ships?
I mean, that's
what they like for us to believe.
I mean, if you go back to when the first people were landing here, and you see little of those porcelain figurines, and they say Europe, and they show a white woman, right, an angel white woman. When they say America, they show a curly-haired black angel figurine. And when they show other parts, and there's another one where they show another type of European type figure for the other land that aren't blonde, right? So, but when you see America, so when they first landed here, they say what America was to them, what they saw, who they saw when they landed here were black people, kinky, tight curl, black skin, African relatives who crossed over the land bridges, who settled this way before, who had commerce and travel routes and everything. They just didn't believe in knocking down trees. They used what was naturally, the roads that were naturally made, but then when the European came, they became in knocking down and making straight lines. You see? So this is what's happening here. So when you see this, that's what they're in fear of. So Liam Neeson, not only is he a textbook, in my opinion, on what a person who suffers from racist thought and white supremacy thought and eugenicist thought is, but he is also showing you what they would do if the roles were reversed. If they ever got in power, let's say that we were treated them like dung, and then they got into power, and then they would come in and destroy us. We didn't treat them like dung. We came in with open arms, and they still did it to us. Do you understand that? So this is what we're dealing with, and it's like Liam, like people shouldn't understand. If black people like films, right? They like to go to the movies. They like to be entertained. They watch. It doesn't matter what character it is up on screen. If it's something that they like, they will go watch it, love it, appreciate it. And it never ceases to amaze me how these actors who are of European characteristic, I'll say, always seem to shoot themselves in the foot with the people who go and actually are the ones that actually fund their career, because we like action pictures. And we don't see ourselves in enough action pictures, so we will go and see people in action pictures no matter what race they are. If they're Asian, you know what I'm saying, whatever, or European American or European, we will go to the theaters to see these people. It's just like how Clint Eastwood. I equate Liam Neeson's situation to Clint Eastwood. People love Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood even played Josie Wells and black people who was a Confederate soldier, talking about, "You gonna whistle Dixie?" You know what I mean? And we just totally forgot about that, and we just went to go see it because it was a Western picture and we appreciated Clint Eastwood. Then Clint Eastwood gets up there in 2012 with the chair trying to get Romney. Did you see Romney? We're gonna get to the Trump's address, right? Yeah. But did you see Romney? He looks but anyway, trying to get Romney elected. He sat up there with the chair and made himself seem, to me, just my opinion, senile, talking to the chair. Right?
And the chair was supposed to
be
President Obama.
Stupid. And talking about, Oprah was in the park and everybody was crying. We were crying. And I was like, were you in the park, Clint? I didn't remember seeing you there. But, he said everybody was crying for you to be there, right? And so he ruined his situation. And he was supposed to do A Star Is Born with Beyonce.
He was supposed to direct it.
Supposed to direct it, right? And then that would have been something if he had been in the film. He's a love interest,
Oh, that wasn't gonna happen.
But maybe he would have played Sam Elliott's
the
brother or something, right? Yeah. Maybe that would have been his cameo in it. But anyway, look. He was supposed to play that part, but then Beyonce said, I'm out of here. You're not going to talk about my man. You know what I mean? How can you just destroy your whole legacy over an election to a guy that was stiff as a board, didn't have, just in my opinion, just the tip of the microscopic tip of your pinky finger, did not have your microscopic tip of your pinky finger had more talent than this man had in his whole body, and you would give up your whole legacy with black people. And now he's got the mule out.
Yeah, we haven't.
And
won't be reviewing.
Who went to go see it?
Yeah, it didn't go to number one.
Usually everything that Clint Eastwood comes out with just storms.
Usually does well in the box.
Just storms in the box. So everyone goes to see it, but now his legacy is going to wrap up with that. That could possibly be his last film. And when you go to his Wikipedia page, Clint Eastwood starts from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010.
Great films on television to watch or whatever, but...
And this goes to show you
won't be paying for his movies.
Right. It's I always grew up, I loved Westerns, and I love, and so when I see Unforgiven with Morgan Freeman, I have to sit there and actually watch it because they are well directed, well edited, well put together films. And for a man like Clint Eastwood who had to go overseas to and with the Cowboy with No Name films, they had 3 of those, and then came back over to then become a director because he had sat under the Italian director over there and learned how films were made, and then to come back, make a name for himself through those films that came overseas. Then they made him a bankable star, then to be able to then write and direct your own pieces, and to give it up in 2012 because you could not let go of what was in your heart. In my opinion, what was in your heart.
That was during that whole birther stuff.
Yeah, birther stuff
with Trump,
which was really just saying black people.
Right.
Yeah. So for you not to be able to let what was in your heart go. And the reason why they can't let what's in their heart go, people, is because of dominant and recessive genes and the fear of not being able to see yourself on the planet anymore. And that's what this is about. And that's why Liam Neeson, he may be going the way early. He may be going the way early. He may be just getting bit roles as the grandfather. He may be going early the way of Clint Eastwood. At least Clint Eastwood had decades of success, right? But so this is real sad, and for him to say just anyone, but then after he came to his senses, but it's a shame that sense was even there in the first place, to want to harm someone who hadn't done anything to you or to your person. So plus again the curse of the European woman who often would lie on black men, right? So we just populated. So that's that. So that's the Liam Neeson situation, right? Then we come to, wait. There's some fallout. There's fallout because Terry Crews.
Oh, okay.
Came to his defense.
To Liam Neeson?
That's right. Said he's not a racist. Now,
after he went after D.L. Hughley and Tariq Nasheed, he's defending Liam Neeson.
After he went after him, yes. He's defending Liam Neeson about calling, saying he was going after the black beep, and we don't know what the beep is, the beep beep. But he's defending him while he's on this ride about black male toxic masculinity. Now, if that is not European male toxic masculinity, and here's my thing.
Why is he talking about black male toxic masculinity when the man who grabbed his genitals was a white man?
That's right. Was a European American. Talk about that male toxic masculinity where they're also messing with, in Hollywood, with little boys.
Right.
And having women sit on the casting couch and let me see your breasts.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying about black women who talk women's rights instead of black women's rights. Let's stay with black women's rights and let's go and show the problems in the still majority in certain countries but minority around the world, people who inflict this damage on a group of people who were all about nothing but loving and providing and teaching how to live, right? The Moors taught the European how to wash, how to shave, how to stand upright. They taught them that, and then they would turn around later and come to another African people and then enslave those people who were akin to those who taught them how to stand upright. I mean, this is really some strange things going on here, and all you have to do is just Google this. Now, before we had to go to the library and get it, and now you can just go Google and type in Moors training the English, and then you'll see. Then it'll come up. But look, so Terry Crews does this, and I'm like, Crews, my man. And then he threatened. He said, "What if I slap you? What if I was to slap you, D.L. Hewley? What if I was to slap you?
Hey, Franklin.
Hey, what's going on, Franklin?" He goes and then he defends Liam Neeson.
Okay,
he's talking about slapping
D.L. Hewley. So if Terry Crews is threatening to slap D.L. Hewley, why didn't he slap the man that grabbed him by the genitals?
That's right.
In front of his wife.
At a party. And what made that man think that he could do that? Right?
Yeah.
What made him think he would do that unless there were some kind of foreknown knowledge?
Maybe he
that
was
could
used
be
to
done.
maybe hitting them on the butt and that kind of stuff and got away with it, and did just gradually he felt comfortable enough to...
Listen. I was 6th grade. We had a teacher. I'm not going to say her name, but her name began with an I. And I graduated from a magnet school. That's my 6th grade year. And she was arguably, I would say it now, looking back on it now, she was probably a lesbian, right? But she would, like, as if you were in sports, the students would do a good job, and she would just pat them on their butt like a coach, like a coach. Right. Good job, right? So she had never done it to me. So, I had done something where I was like one of the student leaders or whatever, and she tapped me on my butt, and I turned around and looked at her. And then from then on, she never did it anymore. You don't hit, you don't touch me, you know what I'm saying? You don't do that. Like the other kids, you could do that too. But I would look at that and I would say, that's strange. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know anything about lesbians and homosexuals and stuff like that back then. But, tapping people on the behind, saying like, good job, right? And I didn't even allow that in sports. When I played basketball, I didn't allow that. No, we can high five. It's still the thing. We can high five. We can do all that. We can not fist bump, elbow bump. Jump up, do the bump, but ain't no hand hitting the buttocks. It's just not something that's allowed, right? And so him if there was something where they tapped on the butt, he shouldn't have not allowed them to tap on the butt. Because I was in the 6th grade, and it was a woman, and she was acting like she was a coach.
Right.
You know, because I would see it on TV. You know, I would see it during the basketball games. I would see it. So that's what it was. He said, "Good job," and then she did it. I turned and looked at her, and then it was just a natural. It was a natural, instinctive response to say, not happening, right? And so that's what it is. So a person knows by what they do, because if it had been me, and I'm an actor, and I'm on the come up, and somebody comes and we were at an event.
Oh,
yeah, we were at an event.
Which one? 'Cause
we were at an event called Lights, Camera.
Oh, the guy.
Lights, Camera, something, right? So it was a lot of European Americans in there. You know, the blacks are sprinkled in. So, you know, a lot of the black actors are trying to be in with what the European is doing. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. We talked about that, right? We talked about that in episode 45. It was either 44 or 45, where we talk about, you know, if you really know what's really going on in these settings, you're just going in. I go in to try to find black actors who are actually not working,
right? Because
they work, but they put them in secondary roles. They don't put them in starring roles. So when I walk into these places, I'm walking in to find the actors and test read them and see if they can interpret my lines, and then I'll bring them and put them in lead roles and let that shine. So I'm walking around and I'm passing out my literature. I'm always a flyer passer, business card passer, and I'm doing that. So I come around to this guy, and he's talking about who he helped or whatever, sponsored, right?
In the black community,
who he sponsored, right? So I'm talking about shooting. See, I come with a service, right? See, because I come from retail, I provide a good or a service, right? So I'm talking about providing a film service, and this is my fee.
Right.
Other people who don't come from that background, no aspersion, they come with their hands out to get funding. And you know, certain things, people I find may do certain things just to get that funding that people who are about self-funding will not do. I've always been a self-funding person, right? It's not gonna get done unless it's done. Or if I'm providing you a service, here's my fee, pay me my fee, I get you the product, there it is, it's finished. So goods, a service, product, boom. So I'm talking to him, and then I'm saying that, he said, oh yeah, so then he just takes his hand and decides to put his hand
rubbing on my face.
So when he put his hand down, my natural instinct was to put him right back in his face, and he came back and looked at me, and then I said,
and he's his, I don't know, girlfriend.
Yeah, with some girlfriend, whatever it was.
You know, I guess he was interested in men and women, because he was a man.
So he went like this, and I went right back. I muffed him because he went like this, and he was shocked because he's used to a certain group of people who always come with their hands out. But I'm a man.
Right.
I'm a man to the end.
And I think he felt comfortable because it was predominantly all white people.
Yeah, wait.
But what I was thinking was, I'm like, okay, so you didn't name names about some of these black people that you work with in this community, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what did you do to them? Like, who were you Harvey Weinsteining, you know, and, you know, you're putting money in their pockets, and you're working with this one and doing this and that one, and he thought he could get away with you because he's clearly been
used to
doing it.
Right. But he saw that when he did that, I muffed him.
Right.
And I stood there and looked at him, and he came back shocked.
Right.
And I said, I'll see you. And then we moved on.
He looked shocked,
and then
too.
He looked shocked. He looked genuinely shocked. That told me a lot about what's happening.
Yeah.
It told me a lot about what's happening. And being that I come from a situation where, like I said, I'm walking in to find the black actors who are being thrown into secondary roles. They're in the back. Let me tell you something. When I came here in Las Vegas, there were people who were in back rows. I try them out. I got them. I do rushes, and I put quick rushes up to show people what they're doing before the finished film come out. Next thing I know, directors are taking people who were in the background, cropping them up 16 by 19, all grainy looking, bringing them up to the forefront where they had them in the back because I brought them to the front. So that's what I do. But I'm a man, and ain't nobody. I don't care to the end, because once you learn that fight or flight is the same emotion, comes off the same emotion, you decide to stand in. I stand in, and I don't give up. But so I muffed them back, and then it was like you had to feel good about that.
Because I'm like, I don't care if we the only ones in the room. It's not gonna go down.
It's not gonna go like that.
Y'all may outnumber us, but
because if so this is my point. Right. If somebody had come up and grabbed me there, I would have grabbed him by their Adam's apple and said, "What's this?" Yeah. That's just like me cutting off your wind on your Adam's apple. Right. Do not. And as I crunch in with my anvil. And I say, with my vice grip, I say, don't grab me like that. It's just like me cutting off your windpipe. Okay? So this is what this is about. So all he had to do was that, and he still would have been respected, but he got into this talking about perceptions. No. About perceptions. Right. About him being perceived as a big, angry black guy.
Oh, you talking about Terry Crews?
Yeah, I'm talking about Terry Crews.
I'm still talking about
I went on to talk about somebody grabbed me by, and I'm an up and coming actor or trying to be in the acting field. I'm gonna grab you and let you know that's not. And then they go back. Don't do that to him. Just give him the job. That was
Terry Crews' agent. Like Terry Crews is paying you,
right? And so you grab him by his Adam's apple and let him know what his response was, but. Forget that. I mean, just give that. That's the way it is. Either you stand, or you get bent over. I mean, that's what it is, right? And so that's what it is. So that's an experience. So obviously he thought he could do it because
he's done it to other people. Because
Terry Crews I've seen this and you've seen it, has dressed up in women's clothing before on film. Yeah. And so that lets you know also the psychology of the European American or the European who is making film, that if they have a male dress up in female clothing, then they consider them that in actuality. Right.
Unless maybe he was used to grabbing Terry Crews in private. And
I don't want to assume.
I mean, no, I'm just saying. But when he did it in public, in front of,
he wanted to do it in front of his wife.
Yeah, and
to let him know who Daddy was.
Yeah,
and then she could come over and get some of the plantation treatment too if she liked, because
So I mean, I don't know.
It's weird. So people are weird what they will take.
When you hear these stories, believe them.
It's not worth that much. It's not worth taking away your manhood for it. It's really not. It's really not. Because for those who want to be, so this is no aspersion on the LGBTQ community. Those who want to be what they want to be, you were born that way, okay. That's what you want. You want to believe, boom, do that. That's fine. Be that. But respect the life and the right of a heterosexual to be heterosexual, and everybody can be cool. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can be cool.
Just respect one another.
Just respect one another. That's what this is all about, right?
Because it doesn't matter who you're dating or what sex or whatever. None of that stuff matters. Just respect one another.
Right. So just like when we say black women should be talking about black women's rights, but you can do that intersectionality if you like. Cool, but in the end, intersectionality will keep us back another 100 years because we need to be talking about what you're giving, what politicians and what other people who come into the black community for votes or whatever, or coming in with organizations. What are you doing to make sure that the black community profits and develops and grows from off of you while you're profiting? This is what this is all about, right? Or while you get elected, what are you doing for the black community? So when black women are just doing women's rights and not saying this is black women's rights and this is what we want. Same thing with Terry Crews. Stop talking about black male toxic masculinity,
Right.
which there's no such thing,
Right.
and start talking about the toxic masculinity from the European and the European male and the European American male that would come up and grab your genitalia.
I mean, that was just weird because I was just wondering why Terry Crews is kind of going after black men, and the person that did that to you is a Caucasian man. And the thing is, this whole toxic black masculinity thing that they're pushing. Come on, like how many 15 years were in retail, and black men, straight black men, gay black men, bisexual black men, all interacted in the store. We saw this. Everybody talked. We all talked music. People, everybody, no issue, no big thing. So this, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's
yes, there's no issue. Like
Yeah.
they come in, they look like if they saw somebody, like we had a transsexual come in a couple of times, and then the people would come in, look,
right,
and say, well, that's
Mind their
them.
business,
Go ahead and get
get
music. And then
music.
if a discussion on music
Everybody
came in, everybody would
interacted.
chime in.
So it's
It
no-
didn't mean that they were gonna go out then and go to the car, or go back to the back of the store.
Right.
You know what I mean?
and they didn't beat up anybody.
It didn't beat up anybody.
I mean,
So
it's
this whole toxic masculinity thing. Let's talk about who are really the toxic masculinity problem having males in every society around the globe. Only probably 3 to 4% of the 8% of the global population is constantly dwindling, but act as if they are the majority in the world. So that's what we need to say.
It's
So
not
he
what-
stepped up on
I
it.
just want to say, I mean, that whole, come on, who don't have like, we have everything in our families. Most people do. You have like, lesbian cousins or siblings or friends or in gay or heterosexual, bisexual. Like, it doesn't matter. Family is family,
Matter of fact, if you go back and read
But
most of the
who
stories
cares?
during the Harlem Renaissance,
Right.
you see those characters in the books,
Right.
And you see the movies that are adaptations of that.
Right.
That was always there. Everybody
So-
commingled together because they knew, I'm not going your way,
Right.
I'm not going that way. But then they only take
Right.
certain things, and then the people who are European American or Europeans who want to write conflict in scripts
Right.
will write that anti-gay conflict into scripts
Right.
and put it on the face of the black male, or they will if they want to write a homosexual character in, they will put it only on the black male, and he's the only black male amongst a whole sea of Europeans. I mean, this is it's really weird. It's really weird. So, that's just food for thought. However you want to take that, what I'm saying, think about it, go research it, you'll see what we're saying. But there's nothing new. My mother always said there's nothing new under the sun. And I'm going to say it. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just that it's more populated and more out there because we have social media. But there's nothing new under the sun. Right? And black people were always more accepted.
Right.
Now, we can talk about some of the Bible thumping churchgoers if they want to tell that, but they're not accepting of mostly anything. They're not accepting of the music that came out. They're not accepting of people's lifestyles. They're not that. And even then, the larger black community that are not necessarily, that may even go to church but not Bible thumpers, even accepting the Bible thumpers.
Yes.
And everybody all comes together.
Okay, let's
Trainee
Trainee
is
new shit. That's funny.
trainee is new shit. Okay, what's that mean? Trainee is new shit.
The trainees.
Oh, no. Well, actually, down at the Carnegie Hotel
How many
in
years
the
ago was
80s.
that? Oh,
This
you
is in
said
the 80s. My sister used to play in a band that auditioned at the Carnegie Hotel, which was the spot in Cleveland for the acts to come before integration came. That was the Black Hotel, like the Black Book. That was the Black Hotel that they knew they could come to, and it was still in business up until the time the guy had died in the late 80s, however, and then that kind of everything went away. But across the street from the Carnegie Hotel was a house full of transvestites. My sister told me. I never went, because as soon as she told me that, I said, that's not my party. I don't even want to see that. So I just didn't want to see it.
You don't want anybody else grabbing your face?
No. It's just no. People are respectful to what you are.
Right.
That's what I find. That's what we find in black community. They're respectful to what you are. It's only the other people who aren't.
He said used to be cross-dressing.
Well, no, but they call them transvestites in the movies in the late 70s, early 80s. Because remember, Bill Duke starred in one where he wasn't a transvestite. Mm-hmm. No, he did star in one.
Was he? Yeah, he talked about it.
Yeah.
What movie was that?
But then, Car Wash. Yeah. What is his name? Antonio Fargas played a transvestite. They call them transsexuals now. Right. You know what I'm saying? To get away from the transvestite.
And he played one like with dignity.
Yeah, he played with dignity, and the person who was more on the spiritual religious side was the one that was hung up. But that perfect example what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But everybody else was live and let live. Right. And even though the person who was on the Islamic Muslim side of things, he was still accepted in.
Franklin said pride.
You know what I mean? I don't know what that means. Pride. What pride? We all had pride. I mean, because we all lived and co-worked together and live and let live. That's what it is. So only the European writes the conflict in the film. So
you saying that's fake news?
That's fake news.
They just want to put black men on the face of
So in the end,
gay pride.
Gay pride, okay. So that's why we need to be sure that we have control of our narrative. Yeah. That our narrative is up to par, up to code.
Yep, he is a good actor.
Right? Up to code. Up to and beyond.
Right.
Up and beyond what is going on in Hollywood or any other film houses around the globe. That we have to make sure that sound quality is right, picture is right, all that is right, so that it will live on past us, so that we can tell our true story that we really never mattered, as long as you didn't violate.
Right.
It didn't matter. It was always those people who were in situations where they were in holier than thou situations, and sometimes the holier than thou could get over on the young children. But people who were aware and who were aware, not just woke, but aware, said, look, I don't care what position you have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Ving Rhames, right. He played
Holiday Heart.
Holiday Heart, right?
Yeah. Will Smith,
yeah.
He played the trainee. Ving Rhames played the trainee.
Right. So, it's that we have to realize and tell our story and say that people lived and let live.
Right.
That's the way it was, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's no division, really.
Yeah, that is a great film, Holiday Heart, with Alfred Woodard is also in it.
That's right. Plus Tyler Perry.
Right.
He plays the largest. Yeah. He's cross-dressing in that.
Right.
But he's playing a woman. Right. It's a male playing a woman.
Right.
And we accept that.
Right. And who did Martin Lawrence?
Jamie Foxx, right?
Wesley Snipes.
But it's all in would they go up and grab Jamie Foxx's crowd?
No, because
in front of his woman or his daughter, because he hangs with his daughter a lot.
Yeah,
right?
they
would they do
better.
that?
No.
You know
no, he wouldn't have done that.
Would they grab the crotch of Idris Elba?
No. You saw what happened to the reporter when he kissed Will Smith.
Tried to kiss Will Smith. He muffed him in his face.
Yeah, Will muffed him in his face.
Right. And then,
like you had to muff that guy in the face out here.
Going like, come on, nigga, what? Man, that's all we gonna be. You know what I mean? So anyway, look.
He said he wanted to sponsor you.
Is that what he said?
Well, he mentioned he was like
Garrett Morris.
Yeah. Oh, yep, Garrett Morris.
So there's a whole lot of names, but then you got people who said they will never.
Saturday Night Live.
They will never wear a dress.
Right.
Dave Chappelle. Eddie Griffin.
Yeah.
Never wear a dress, because how you come in is how you go out.
And the actor from Saturday Night Live, who had the good show on Showtime, great show, produced by Jamie Foxx, Jay Farrell.
Jay Farrell.
Yeah.
That's right. And matter of fact, that show, that talk.
It's excellent. So
that,
if you get a chance on Showtime.
White Famous, right?
White Famous, produced by
It only
Jamie
came
Foxx.
on one season because it was telling too much of the truth of what was actually happening in Hollywood.
Yeah, real.
And when you come here and you experience that, and I said, what's wrong with these people? Because if I, as an individual coming from the Midwest, came out here and somebody did that and I muffed them and they felt that it was easy and they could do that, what have they been doing?
Yeah.
And so that's what that White Famous, it only came on one season and it is on,
they stopped
it
that.
is on demand on HBO.
So watch it before they.
That's right, before they take it. They won't though, because that's money. So they,
because people watch it. It was a good show.
It was a good money.
It was too real.
It was just too real, and it said what was happening.
What was really happening to black people,
and how the European Americans act in Hollywood.
Yeah. They feel they have the right to do whatever they do.
They feel
because they are able to do it to some, but you can't do that to everybody. Like the guy out here who said he sponsored different people out here, and so he felt that because he was able to get away with them, he could do it to you.
That was
but a shot. You should have saw his face.
You know what I mean?
The guy's face.
I believe in live and let live. You don't touch me.
Right.
I don't touch you. We are solid.
Right.
Do that to them over there.
Right.
You come to me, we just doing business.
Right.
That's all we do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Business. You know, good business don't hurt nobody. It just helps elevate everyone. You know what I mean? So that's what that is. All right, people. So now, speaking of good business, and talking about a show that just debuted on BET. We're talking about American Soul. I have to say it like Donnie Simpson used to say, Video Soul. American Soul on BET. That's right. So we just finished watching that. So this is the true story. This is the first. It was a 2 episode, 2-hour premiere. I guess they're an hour long. Yeah. Well, actually 57 minutes long, including commercials. So
a new series.
A new series on BET, and it talks about the rise of Soul Train with Don Cornelius. Soul Train is already in motion when the story picks up, but he's getting ready to make his move from Chicago to LA, right? And this is what this story surrounds upon. Okay, so speaking of how European Americans can be in film, he was there was a Southern European American that had like 13 stations, and if in the South, and if the 13 stations dropped Soul Train, just didn't want to take the risk, right? Then it would be over for Don Cornelius, and then it would be considered a flop because he couldn't hold the South. Right. The South did a lot of things like that. Like certain commercials couldn't show in the South during Jim Crow, and I bet you that still today, I bet you it's a untold secret, but I bet you none of those interracial couple commercials show in the South today. I bet you they don't. I can almost guarantee as soon as they see it come in the package, they go in, edit it up.
Let's see.
My best friend is the I finish. I bet you they.
Okay, he's the executive producer.
Okay, executive. All right. Oh well, let's get to it. Okay, so I bet you when they send the whole packages, what happens? The shows are sent out in 27. Well, they're sent out 30 minutes, right, including the commercials, and then you throw it on the editing bay, and then you go in and you switch out the commercials and you put in your own commercials. Andy J. Horn. Okay, shout out to him. Yeah. And then you cut in and you put in your commercial, so they can cut out those commercials and put in.
He says first name you see.
Okay, and so you cut them out and you put that in. All right. So then it rolls on TV. So I'm sure in the South those interracial commercials coming on, probably a lot of the commercials where you see where it's a lot of black people. I bet you they have same commercials cut with European Americans in them. Same commercials. Right. Probably, and they never see the predominantly black commercials in the South. Guaranteed that's still the way it is, but it's a quietly kept secret. So this is the story. So Sinqua Walls plays Don Cornelius. He is a strong negritude. When you look up the word negritude, it doesn't mean Nigger or Nigga, but it's a way that black men walk, talk,
Right.
Relate to a world that is out to oppress them. He is a strong guy that pushes through. He comes back from being in Vietnam. He's a Vietnam veteran and Army veteran, and he's believing in pushing through and getting it done. So he has that no fear, no die spirit to get it done.
Kind of like Shaft. The Shaft negritude.
Yeah. Those movies from the blaxploitation era, where it was a strong male black lead, which I guess the intersectionologists. I just came up with a new word. Intersectionologists believe is toxic, black toxic male masculinity. They think that negritude. Denzel, that's right, negritude. And so they may think that that's toxic, but that's just the way that you move through to get things done in a society that's there to make you a subservient in the end. You're fighting to be a supervisor and above in this society that's trying to make you subservient. Okay? So that's who he is. Then you're introduced to a person who is just as much negritude, but he is the person who thinks on the street level to get the money. Greenleaf, that's right. That's Jason Durden.
Great actor.
He plays Gerald Ames. He's a club owner, and he finds a way to help Don Cornelius get A-list acts while getting it in his club, and thus, because they're getting television. See, this is how this works. It's called the barter system, or working together for the greater good. I'm doing this, and then in turn you do this, and it both profits us, because Don Cornelius will get money from the advertisers to keep the show going, thus being able to pay those who are in his employ, and thus he gets them in the club. And because they're on television going nationally and then later internationally, then they will give him a cut rate on their performance fee to come into the club and perform. So it's a win-win. That is called working together for the greater good. And so I watch it to see if my thought processes of being in a retail situation in 15 years and working and connecting with different people were right. And when I watch these shows and I see, this is right, that you work along with people. One person has this talent, another person has another talent. You don't step in their lane, they don't step in your lane. If you step in their lane or they step in your lane, that's violation. That's just code. That's code 101. Don't step in my lane, I won't step in your lane. You play your position, I play my position. We can all rise together. Don't tell me about what I do, I won't tell you about what you do. Long as it's productive and you get it done. The only thing I'll say is that you get it done, in a timely fashion. And the same that they would say to me, that you get it done in a timely fashion.
And what I loved about their relationship, they had just met.
They just met and it clicked.
And developed a friendship and it clicked. And then Gladys Knight. I love Kelly Rowland.
Kelly Rowland is Gladys Knight.
And Gladys Knight came through. She came through. Yep.
And she was looking to break away from the standards that she was doing, but she had to play the game. So you learn all this, right? Then you have Caitlin Nicole. She plays Simone Clark. This is let me break. Let's back up a little bit. Then I'll come back to the characters. So Soul Train, the story of Don Cornelius opens up in what would be modern time, which is then 2012. February 1st, 2012, Black History Month. Or was it the second? It was either the first or the second. First or second. It might be the 2nd of February, Black History Month, 2012. Don Cornelius is sitting in his house. He's older. He's watching Gladys Knight sing.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It opened up. Yeah.
It opened up. He's watching.
But we don't want to get.
No. I'm not giving it. But I have to set up the story.
To see. It's real good.
I have to set up the story.
Okay.
So he's watching. That DVD set that's still available to get. He's watching that particular one with Gladys Knight on it, and she's singing.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. He's contemplating, and there's a gun on his side. Right, and he's sitting there, and then something happens, and he puts the gun up to his head. Then it cuts back to the beginning, and you're introduced to Don Cornelius and his dreams. He's on the set in Chicago doing this thing, and they're talking about the possibility of syndication, first nationwide. Then you're introduced to the young crew. Which this is a story. Don Cornelius' story is the main story, and then you see the story of the young crew, and then there's a third story that talks about Black independence, right? And then there are secondary stories. One about Don Cornelius and his family life, then the young crew that wants to get on, 3-person crew that wants to get on in the entertainment business, right. And their home life,
right?
And then you have the what was the third? Did I say it?
Was it the young lady, the staff?
The staff,
right?
And her home life, right? So there's 3 different stories being told here, and secondary stories being told here, and then you find out that they're all interwoven somehow, beautifully written. I will say that. Beautifully written, and the pacing and the segueing between the flashbacks and modern time and what it took to get, and the behind the scenes of what it takes to get a show off the ground and move. Beautifully done, beautifully executed. I would say that. Now, the Vietnam sequences. Okay. Vietnam is geography-wise. Vietnam is latitude. I forget the latitude and longitude. Right. I should have looked that up before. But in geography, you learn when you're doing film, you have to check geography because you could be in the desert, right? And there are ephemeral lakes in the desert. Ephemeral means that the lake bed dries up because it's so hot. But then there are such things in Las Vegas or in the desert that are called flash rainstorms, which cause flash flooding. Now, if you're in an area in the desert that is an ephemeral lake, and you have your equipment down the ephemeral lake, and you're looking at it and it looks like a gully, and then it's going up and it looks like 2 mountainsides there, right? But in actuality, it is an ephemeral lake that fills up with flash floods, and then once the sun comes on and heats back up, it evaporates back to just what you consider desert. But if you don't know that you're an ephemeral lake, and you don't know the apron, and you can't read and see the pattern of the apron that opens up where the water opens out of the basin of it, then you won't know that you're in a lake. And when the flash floods come, you, your crew, your equipment, all of you are gonna drown.
Okay.
Right? So I'm saying that to say this. So there's certain parallels. There's the rainforest, then there's the jungle, right? Then after the jungle, then it gradually goes up. Then you have desert. Then you have the jungle will be jungle, tropical. Then it comes to desert, boom, 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 boom. As you go around, and then as you go up the latitude or down the latitude, if you're in the southern latitudes match with the northern latitudes just in reverse.
Right.
So as you go up the latitude, it gets cooler. So that's why when you get up into like going into Canada, along the area, it turns into frozen tundra. And it's the same way in Russia. When you get to the certain higher latitudes, it turns to frozen tundra. So my point, the sequences in Vietnam looking at the footage of Vietnam and looking at the footage of people who like Full Metal Jacket and Platoon and all that. The sequences with the helicopters and the gunplay, I love the gunplay. That was good. But the sequences of that, it looks like it's on the top of like in a park, because there's no ground shrubbery around that represents jungle, right? And the heat factor of the jungle and being in the thick of the snick, I'll say, right? As they talk about in that thing, and being a person that watches war movies and knowing longitude, latitudes, and how they play out to do it, you have to make it look more like that. So that it looked a little sparse, right? But the flying of the helicopter, the sequences, the shooting and everything was good, but just because there's a foreground and the background, and you're looking at the background don't quite look like jungle. Okay, so that was part of it. So that was good. The story between the young kids that want to be put on, that's excellent.
Yeah.
But the one thing, another thing, there's a sub story that's going on with one of the third kids where he's introduced to pro-blackness. That was the third set that I did. So it's actually 4 stories going on, but the 4th story and the 3rd backstory connect, and they made the European police officer a sympathetic character. And you'll understand what I'm saying when you watch this. I'm not going to give it away. But they make him a sympathetic character, and they make the person that is the quote-unquote more black liberation or pro-black figure more of a criminal type element. And really, when you really look back on it, the people who were acting like they were part of the movement who wanted to go into theft type things were actually agents. So if that's not brought out in the story, then I think that's problematic, because it's still kicking the same thing that pro-black is not necessarily there. There's only a certain line that you should go as far as expressing your blackness. So we'll see how that pans out as the show goes on. So those are some of my concerns on it. Clothing, the authenticness of the clothing, looking at the pictures from back there, it's close, but I would have went a little tighter. But overall, the really story, right, the writing, the dancing, the singing, the telling the story of Don Cornelius right now, that's good. So I would give it, at this level right now, just watching it right now, I would give it a 7.
Okay.
Right? And what would you
think? For me, the acting was great. I love the music. I love the costumes, the hair. It took me back. When I was little, I was excited. I couldn't wait to see Soul Train on television. Me and my cousins. So really, really great job. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the season. And
speaking of the Super Bowl, it was the lowest rated Super Bowl in 10 years. And this is my aspect of it, because for me, I believe that, going on there and perform so the outside parties away from the Super Bowl, money will go into the black community, black restaurants, strip clubs, I believe it. Go ahead and do that, so I don't have any thought process on that. However, I will say this. It was the lowest rated in 10 years. Everyone, I didn't watch it. You know what I'm saying? And I still don't know definitively who won, but I can just imagine who won. But they said it was the game was lackluster, right? So it was the lowest rated. The game was lackluster. In my opinion, a milquetoast halftime show with Maroon 5. What if black people had decided to just go on ahead and let this one fall by the wayside, this would have been the NFL's Waterloo, and they would have to have come to the table with something else. It would have been a Waterloo if there were no black participants except for the players on the field. They couldn't get any halftime, anything other than Maroon 5, and it was already the lowest rated. It would have been even more lower rated, and it would have made them have to come to the table and get and give concessions and compromise on things to get things done. Yeah. So that's I believe right there, not putting any aspersion on anyone, that it was a missed opportunity. What do you think?
I think that everybody should be happy. The people who participated in it, the people who watched it. The people who didn't was doing something else. And
I was happy that I didn't watch it. And so I mean, I really feel.
Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
I was watching Mahershala Ali, True Detective.
Yeah. I feel real good that I didn't watch it. I feel weight lifted off. It's nothing, and either way that it went, but it just was, to me, a missed opportunity to put NFL on their knees.
Well, not really.
On their knees,
no,
get it?
I mean, well, the ratings were low, so I mean, that spoke volumes to the NFL.
All it is a bunch of what ifs.
Right.
Again, what if we had held, like Nancy Pelosi, they say she holds the Democratic caucus together. Oh, yeah. What if we had held together just enough to give them their Waterloo on this particular one? What would have happened? And speaking of perceived Waterloos before it started, let's talk about Trump's State of the Union address. Right?
Yeah, let's talk about it because I have to be heading out.
Okay. So, originally, before it started, all the talking heads was like, how's he going to be able to do this? What happens when he doesn't get applause line and people don't stand up and applaud for him? How's he going to act? Because he's used to being at his rallies and everybody's with him. What's he going to do when people aren't with him all the way? Right. Well, for those talking heads on MSNBC and CNN, and I don't know, we don't watch Fox, so I don't know. But for those talking heads, I'm sure that they were highly disappointed because Trump got applause lines and standing applause all throughout the speech. Matter of fact, the way it was, I believe that it was one of his best speeches. Like I don't listen to his rally speeches, right?
Yeah.
But from the State of the Union, well, the first one wasn't the State of the Union because he was new in. But from the State of the Union, he did, and compared to this year, this is the best speech that I've seen.
Because the last
deliver.
one, the one, what was it, yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to you afterwards, I wonder, did they hire Obama's writer? Because the speech did not sound like a Trump speech.
No, it didn't.
The State of the Union didn't. It sounded as if like the same person or one of the different writers who wrote for Obama may have written it.
It also sounded like it was multiple writers putting in, right?
Yeah, because it did not sound like
a regular Trump speech, right? Because there was a part in the speech where Trump got down to brass tacks about things. Yeah. He talked about the 3 strikes. Right. He rebuked the 3 strikes. Right. He introduced 2 black people who were formerly incarcerated, a woman, and then a man who got out under their new policy that was passed. Yes. Right? That he worked on to do. Right. Jared, his son-in-law, helped to get pushed through. And that right there, they said that he might get 25% of the black vote this time. Each time that those people stood up, well, we know that her family is going to vote for him because because he got her out. And we know that the man's family are going to vote for him because got him out. He was wrongly accused.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then they go on and then they talk about the illegal immigration, the illegal aliens, and how illegal aliens are in the United States and have killed, murdered people who should have been out. And then they introduce you to families.
Right.
And they were in the gallery and they stood up. Yeah. That's more votes. Yeah. And he talked, and then he introduced border security, right, and about what border security is saying, right, and when this goes up, right, that's more votes, yeah, right? Yeah. Now here's the kicker.
And that was the Latino guy,
right,
head of the border security,
right? And then they showed the guy who chased after the person and he got shot up, yeah, and he's going through his 12th surgery. Yeah. That's more votes. So by the time, the Democrats were sitting there, and I know that the channels are giving a skewed, the liberal channels, which are really for him, really, I suspect, are giving a skewed view of it so that his people will get out there and vote for him again. But give him a skewed view on it, and really, he hit all marks, and he was hitting it, man. And the one thing, they were talking about women's rights, right? He talked about more women under his people are employed. So the Democrat women got up there and
all the women clapping and cheering.
They clapping and cheering, but they were cheering trying to be ignorant. But it kind of it backfired.
He was like, "Thank you,
thank you." Right? It backfired on him because he had already put it in. Right. He knew they were there, and he put it in. Yeah. I keep on telling people, quit underestimating Trump. I just found out that Trump in the Asian zodiac, the Chinese zodiac, right, he's a dog. And when we read the definition of a dog, right, it describes what it is. He's loyal, tenacious. Once he sets his mind to something, he gets it done to the end. And this is just totally described. I keep on telling people, do not underestimate. Stop thinking that he's stupid. He's sly like a fox. And quit thinking that he's stupid. Go watch that State of the Union again. Now, this is the kicker. The Democrats have been talking about women's rights, right? Women's rights. About women having the right to choose. About women not having their bodies touched. About Me Too, all that. He comes in and he talks about how a certain percentage of the women that are trying to come in these caravans to the United States are being victimized and raped on the way. Yeah. Or they're being smuggled in to be sold into
sex trafficking,
and slavery. Yeah. And you should have seen the women, they went across, they circled across the room with the cameras, and the women's heads were down, and Nancy Pelosi's head was down, and the look on their face. See, I do film, and the close-up is everything, and it was shame. Yeah. They had shame on their face because here he is saying he's producing his argument now, right or wrong. Right. He's producing his argument. He's saying this is why we need this. Right. We need this wall so it will deter them from even coming, and they won't even be able to come through and put them into sex slavery.
Speaking of that, sex trafficking, Jada Pinkett Smith is like a huge advocate in helping young girls who were sex trafficked, right? And so she's totally against it, and her as well as others, they talked about how these girls are being taken off the streets, kidnapped, and taken across the border and stuff, right? So everything that Trump is saying matches up against what a lot of the women in this country are, what they said as far as sex trafficking. So that kind of made I guess that's why the Democrats, the women, Nancy Pelosi was kind of looking like, because this time Trump was actually, it wasn't fake news. So I guess they were looking like, oh my gosh, he is telling the truth.
And he was hitting the facts and why it needs to be happening. And when he pulled up the people in the gallery, it hit every point. They thought that he was going to get up there and be like what he does at the rallies, but he got up there and he outsmarted the Democrats.
You know what? For me, watching the State of the Union, I thought I was in the Ultra Universe because he was sounding like Obama. But anyway, when he said that pharmaceutical companies, the drugs that they charge Americans, they make them in the same factory as they do for when they're distributed overseas, the other countries. But their drugs are cheaper.
Right. And
he said it's not fair that we should be charged as much, for the same drug that's being made in the same factory. And he's against that. Uh-huh. But then they didn't get up and clap on it. I'm like,
but you know who had a drawn face of that on his Republican side?
Right.
That was Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, he didn't like
Mitch
that.
Mitch McConnell did not.
He didn't like Trump saying that, so I was like, he must be working with the lobbyists.
He must have some lobbyists, because he did not like
was not
that.
Happy
he
about
sat there and he was like,
he didn't get up, he didn't clap, nothing. He didn't like that. It was like, don't say anything about the pharmaceutical companies now.
So when you go back and watch the speech, because the media will skew. That's why they call it. That's why in a lot of ways when they say fake news, they are right, because the media, you will watch something, and then the media will come and skew it up so strangely that it is nothing like what actually happened. So you have to watch it for yourself and watch it. So go back and watch the speech, because I think it was well crafted. Now, before we close here, let's talk about this. The ending of the speech. And I thought that MSNBC, because we were watching MSNBC, right? And I thought that MSNBC's camera people with the toaster work and changing the images and stuff went along with it. The ending of the speech, the closing of the speech was about 2 to 3 minutes. Trump runs through it's like a rally cry, and he's building up to the crescendo, and he's saying what America can be and how it can be. And I said, boy, he must have really got Obama's script writers there.
Yeah, it sounded like an Obama speech.
Because he went from the opening about patriotism, he talked about togetherness. They tried to only hit on the part where he talked about no investigations, but I'm going to leave that out. You can figure it out for yourself as you watching the context of the speech. Then he got to the brass tacks and started talking about what the reality was in the country as far as economics and as far as the border wall was concerned, and about the trafficking of women and the rape of women. He just went to the brass tacks of that. Then he came back and talked about patriotism before he closed with this 3-minute piece. And as the camera angle was changing, it started with him, then they would go to wide shots, close 3-man shots, wide shots of the gallery, everything. And it seemed like to me they were reinforcing what he was saying, because at one point it got quiet and everyone was dialed in to every word he was saying for that 3-minute close, right? So go back and watch it. I don't support Trump, and I don't support him because I know what's coming down the line.
Right.
But I know that the invasion of the black body snatchers, the beginning of rounding up people who have been within the black community who may not necessarily believe like people who were here since 1619. That is beginning with 21 Savage. And you know what 21 Savage, before we close, listen, 21 Savage had something to say about Bone that they weren't allowed in Atlanta, right? And then I'm thinking, wow, now that they picked him up and said he's actually a British national, that he's not allowed in Atlanta or anywhere in the United States. So always remember the grave that you dig for one group of people or one person, make sure that you watch out, because there's a banana peel that you can slip on or fall in the grave that's right next to you that you didn't know was dug for you, because you're going to fall right in. So watch that. So this has been another robust episode. This is number 46, people, of the Film Review. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture in movies, music, politics, and society, because this is the Film Review.
Advertise on shows produced by LordlandFilms.com. The Film Review, movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. Brought to you by LordLandFilms.com. The hosts, Crazy D and Tracey Dion. All music heard on The Film Review, available on iTunes, Apple Music. Live stream recording and audio, Crazy Dion. Research on topics, Tracey Dion. The Film